A Let's Play video game series was something I always wanted to do for YouTube ever since high school. And really, back then in like 2012, 2011, the video game streaming and everything like that was never really that popular then. So like thinking about it now, it's almost like I was ahead of the curve back in the day. I just never did it. So at the beginning of COVID, the podcast Vloggin was on hold indefinitely because I wanted to have guests in person and not on Zoom and everything like that, and we couldn't have people over, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I needed content to put out on the channel while still being stuck in the house. On April 24th, 2020, the first episode of FARANK Gaming premiered. Because of how much fun I had during making the first season, we decided to greenlight season 2, and we wanted it for early 2021, and got started working on it right away. And once we got the ball rolling even more with season 2, it was decided to make a new gaming season once every year until we just wanted to end it. Although I had a lot of fun making the gaming series, I couldn't help but notice that the views and the likes were probably the weakest of any series that I produced for the channel, especially with season 4. So it was decided that we're gonna end it with season 5, but go all out with it and play 10 games that really meant a lot to me, which really meant going back to my childhood. Choosing the games to play for the final season was much easier to figure out rather than past seasons, since I basically subconsciously knew the games that I really liked to play when I was younger. Some games that didn't make the cut though were more on the PS2 realm, like Sly Cooper and Jak and Daxter, and that's because those are more story-based games, when really I was looking for like 2-player competitive games to get as much people involved in this final season as I could get. And with that said, after the games were locked in, it was time to set up the guest list and the filming dates. Proud to say I was able to get 20 people involved with this production, making it the largest cast list of any FARANK Gaming season. Because of the past Halloween party, the studio section for the gaming was completely messed up, so we had to rebuild it with the lights, the cameras, the TV, and etc. Right now, the studio currently looks like this. It's a bit of a mess. As you can tell, we got some cleaning up to do. The studio is actually in perfect shape and was ready to go for this season before the Halloween party. But if you guys saw the first episode of Vloggin, you saw I basically moved everything that was from one side of the basement to the FARANK Gaming space, and it became a total wreck. So it's basically time to reset that so we could just be ready to film by the time the middle of March comes. Next up was purchasing a refurbished Nintendo Wii from Amazon, along with getting all the games that was planned for Season 5. But luckily, some of the games that I chose to play, I already still had from my childhood. We also wanted to upgrade and get the right capture card for the Nintendo Wii, which we were successfully able to do off of Amazon as well. So first and foremost, we got the good old rusty beaten down gamer chair. Right in front of the green screen. This is how the magic works and me basically being in the game when you watch the videos. Believe it or not, behind this green screen, we have the podcast studio. It's all here, and it's just really dark in there right now, just so none of the light, picks up from behind the green screen and whatnot. All right, let's get to more of the technological things. First up, we got my laptop that I edit on. It's a MacBook Pro. Right now we got GarageBand open, and it's connected to this toner microphone, which will be recording my voice and everything. It will also be recording the gameplay audio from the TV, and that's really just as like a backup in case things go wrong with the audio on this computer. Now, this computer, we have OBS up and running. You could see there's the Wii menu on the TV, there's the Wii menu on the laptop. This is the recording software for the games, for the gameplay, and it's real easy to use, real easy to set up too in a sense. The only hard part about setting all the gameplay recording up is this guy right here. So this is the Elgato HD60S. This is a gaming capture card, more specifically for older systems like the Nintendo Wii. And let me show you some of the wires here we got. So really, as you notice, this is the power outlet for the capture card that plugs into the laptop. But we have an HDMI cord here that plugs into the Wii. Now you might be asking, a Wii doesn't usually use an HDMI cord to input its video and volume and everything like that. So what I had was purchased this thing. We got a Hyperkin HDMI to the other thing, audio or whatever, video, audio, whatever you want to call it. This is the adapter from that to HDMI, which then I plugged into the TV. Now, the Nintendo Wii, which you saw the unboxing of earlier before, I have stationed right here. This is also where the PS5 went for the gaming series, and even the Xbox One when I was filming previous seasons. This is all miscellaneous stuff right here. I got some Wii wheels, nunchuck. I believe this is a random PS2 controller I got there. And then we got two more GameCube controllers here. We already have a good GameCube controller connected to the Wii. And this is the capture card, the AverMedia Live Gamer Portable that I used for past seasons. And lastly, lighting is key in video production. So we got these two stage lights here that are glaring over to where I'm sitting at. It's been working great the past couple seasons with these two lights, these stage lights, so that's great. And in the middle of the two stage lights, we got the camera. Boom. Hello. And with all that said and done, we are ready to start filming. The Wii Sports episode was one of the more fun episodes to film because of how active you need to be for the game. Back in the day, Wii Sports was the fun competitive game to play with my siblings and my cousins back in the day. So it only seemed right to bring in my cousin Eddie to guest star for the episode.
Honestly, when I first started playing, it was just a baseball. Like, I loved the baseball just because I'm a baseball guy and I would play the baseball all the time.
I remember we decided to do a practice round first, playing all the sports to get a feel of the controls again. And the only sport we decided to leave out during that practice round was boxing, just because we thought that we would be totally wiped out and tired before we actually started filming the episode. And let's just say the practice round went a lot better for me than how the actual episode went.
You know, we did the practice run first, which was cool, and then we did the actual run, and I mean, I did kick your butt, but it's all right at the end. I think we all knew that was happening.
The skit for the first episode was a lot of fun to film too. The premise for each skit in this season was to have a fake sponsor. So we decided to do a commercial for each sponsor, for either a real or fake brand name, with the first episode featuring Nike. The point was to have the slogan, "Just do it," be this inspirational quote that you can do anything, and a positive outcome will come of it. But what if it's a not so great thing that you do?
Wait, don't do it.
Wait, do it again, one more time. Okay, I was like, alright, God.
We also had my other cousin Marley involved with the episode, with the skit at least, who basically got beat up most of the time.
Wait, don't do it. Just do this instead.
It wouldn't be a FARANK Gaming episode if I didn't try out a game that I haven't played yet. With that said, RuneScape was one of the answers because of how popular it was back in the day. I never played it, mostly because my parents never allowed me to, but now I'm so happy about that because I couldn't stand the game, and even if I did like it back in the day, I might still be obsessed with it now. The episode was actually filmed in my brother Tommy's room, which I used my portable green screen to keep the feel of every other episode in the layout of how the format looks. So yeah, like I said before, this game sucked, which I believe made this episode one of the weaker ones I put out this season. But with that said, it ended up getting one of the most viewed episodes for this season as well. So I was shocked by that. But it just goes to show you, though, that how popular the game was back in the day and how popular it still is now. The skit we did also involved my brother Tommy. He was the one that was in the pig mask the whole time. The premise for the skit was to be a PSA, public service announcement, commercial on how stupid Get Ready With Me videos are that people and influencers do on TikTok. But of course, I had to put my own twisted spin on the skit by including the Saw movies.
Okay, good. That was probably really good.
This idea of a skit was something I had in mind for a while now, and it was originally just going to be a regular TikTok skit, like the TikToks I made during COVID, but we decided to adapt it for the season and just call it a public service announcement commercial, and I think it actually turned out very well and fit in with the rest of the skits that I had for the season. Backyard Baseball was a computer game that I used to play way back in the day on the computer when the game was still 2D. As you can tell from the actual episode, they stuck around a bit longer, advanced to 3D animation, which was a version of the game I've never played before.
So today I filmed my first solo gaming episode, and the first one I'm doing is Backyard Baseball, a game that I loved back in the day. This is a newer version, a 3D version of Backyard Baseball, so that'll be interesting to figure out, and I'm sure that's how the whole episode is going to go for the most part.
And boy, was it real frustrating to learn all the new mechanics and moves and controls with it being 3D. It was extremely frustrating, as you can probably tell by the actual episode. With that said, I'm still glad that I tried out this version, even though I'd still much rather prefer the 2D version on the PC. The skit we did for this episode was actually a sequel to a skit we did for FARANK Gaming Season 3, House Full of Franks. This one being called House Full of Franks 2. The first version of this skit was probably one of the most well-received ones back in the day during Season 3, which we decided to go for another one, but with new, different versions of myself this time around. This was a fun but challenging one to make, for mainly two reasons. One is that I had to play multiple versions of myself in one scene.
So right here are most of the costumes and props that I need for House Full of Franks 2. Military Frank, we got the airsoft gun, the airsoft mask. Emo Frank, you got the machete there as a prop. This is Workout Frank. We got the white tank top, blue shorts. King Frank, dress pants. We got the Doctor Strange cape, or cloak, I should say. This is a Batman sword, as you can tell. It's a real sword. Pretty fucking cool.
And two, I basically put myself in the position to dress up as a woman as Frankolina.
We got a wig, and we got a sundress for Frankolina. That's the one that I'll probably be most embarrassed about.
I would just like you all to know that I did this voluntarily. In fact, this was my idea to dress up as a woman. This is purposely for the humor of the skit. Thank you.
Underground 2 was really one of the only Tony Hawk games I really played back in the day as a child. For a little bit I was having a hard time figuring out who the guest star was going to be for this episode to compete against me in this game with all the mini-games. But after a while, I just thought, wait a minute, what about Steve-O? Steve skateboarded a lot back in the day, and I made a pretty good assumption that he played most of the Tony Hawk games as well back in the day. And you could obviously tell that after we finished filming because he wiped me out. He mopped the floor with me in most of the video mini games.
All the Tony Hawk games in general were just phenomenal. It was like a staple of my childhood. Just a week ago, I even dug out like the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 with the PS1, and yeah, I popped it in, and I don't know, it was just, they're all so good. And like that one specifically, like one of the special characters was Spider-Man, and yeah, I remember like being a kid at the time, like that was like mind-blowing for me. That was like the first time I ever seen like a collab in a video game. And
also, as we finished filming the episode, I realized it was more of a podcast episode than a gaming episode because of how much talking was going on during the game, which was great. We were talking about the skating scene back in the day, like in high school, and how that was a huge thing and a huge influence back in the day for us in high school and middle school.
And ultimately, like it really reminded me back of my teenage years, being a skateboarder myself, and like my friends, and how that was like my first form of flow art, I guess you could say.
The skit that was made for this episode was actually a legit commercial. This time around, promoting our new hats for Vloggin on the podcast, which are still available, by the way. Crazy Taxi is one of the oldest games we played this season, but not just that, it's probably also the oldest game we played in the whole FARANK Gaming series. As it started as a arcade game back in the day, I knew the perfect person to compete against me in the game, my cousin Mike. I really found out about his love for the arcade games back in the day when we went to MagFest a couple of years back. He felt like he was at home. He absolutely loved it. So it was a clear choice to choose him for this game. And when I told him that I wanted him involved, he was pumped up. I remember when he arrived at the house before we started filming, I just heard the blasting, yeah, 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 yeah. And I was like, oh boy, he is going to kill me in this game. He's been prepping. When we were about to start to film the gaming portion of the episode, we realized the audio for the game just wasn't working. It was completely mute. Everything else worked but the audio. So we had to improvise.
Alright, so having some technical difficulties on the set of the Crazy Taxi game recording, but we have no audio that's coming through the TV for some reason, but it's only for this game. Like, I just tried Mario Kart and it was working fine through the TV, through the OBS system. It was working fine. I don't know what was really going on with this game, Crazy Taxi specifically, but we got a solution. Me and Mike thought that we needed, well, we do know that we need the theme song of Crazy Taxi playing while we're playing the game. So we're just going to play the theme song through this Bluetooth speaker right here. Making maneuvers.
We actually timed and played the theme song for Crazy Taxi as a round started. So that's why the audio in the actual episode sounds like it's the audio from the actual camera, not just the video game recording on the capture card.
Alright, whenever you're ready.
Alright, let's go, baby.
Alright.
Let's go, baby. Classic dude.
Yep.
Gotta be.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi.
Let's go!
The skit for this episode is one of my favorites. The idea was to have a vulgar version of Siri who will just tell you how it is, and we really found that leeway in doing that by creating a Siri type of version for the Teslas and called it Nikola, like Nikola Tesla back in the day, the historic figure. We got to use the drone for this skit, getting cool shots of John's Tesla, which was a lot of fun, and that's why I think it was one of the more fun things to film this season, for myself at least. And I think it also separates itself because of the drone shots as well than all the other skits who were just filmed normally, you know?
I was trying to figure out what kind of voice I would use for Nicola as the voice command for the Teslas, and then I quickly realized that it couldn't be me. I couldn't make an impersonation. I went through this app called Speechify. Now I'm playing around with different voices, but I think I nailed the voice for Nikola Tesla. As you know, or maybe not know, Nikola Tesla, he's Austrian. I know this isn't an Austrian voice per se, but I wanted to have like an old-timey type of voice. Let me show you what I got so far.
Alright, so on Speechify, you could literally type out a document and you press play and it comes out the voice of whatever you want, basically. They have Snoop Dogg and things of that nature. These are the actual lines for the script that I copied and pasted on here. Let's see how it sounds.
Hello, my name is Nikola Tesla, and I am at your service. I am unsure, but I do know how to get you to a church, you unholy swine. Confess to your sins, you whore.
And 3, 2, 1, action.
Hey Nicola, how do I get to DJ's?
I am unsure, but I do know how to get you to a church, you unholy swine. Confess to your sins, you whore. Well, I would simply...
Okay, good. Okay, good. Let me just see how that looked.
We decided to choose Ocarina of Time over all the other Zelda games simply because it's one of the highest rated games of the franchise and even one of the highest rated games of all time. With that said, it's one of the shortest episodes this season, and it's simply because I just wasn't a fan. To be fair, I don't think I gave it a fair, long shot, simply because these episodes are formatted to play a different game each season, so I don't necessarily have a lot of time to really dive deep into a story mode game. Maybe I'll give it a shot another day, you know, on my own, see what the hype is all about, and really give it a chance, but as of right now, not a fan. The skit I did for this episode is one that I thought was probably one of the weaker ones, and I'm not necessarily too proud of it either. The thinking of the Only Toes skit was to joke about some people's fetishes for feet, and to really just make fun of the actual site known as Feet Finder. I really tried to make it funny and obscene at the same time, but it turned out to become just a weird little promo for Feet Finder, I believe. So that's why I'm not necessarily proud of that one, and I think it's one of the more weaker skits, but it is what it is, man. Pokemon Stadium was one of my more favorite episodes to film with Jesse, as he's a huge Pokemon fan. He plays mostly every Pokemon game that comes out. When we were younger, still living in New York, this was one of the Nintendo 64 games that we were playing constantly.
You know, when you're kids, you don't know how to get Mewtwo, and you don't know how to get a lot of these Pokemon that like you have to trade like Haunter to get Gengar. In that game, it's like you have everyone at your disposal. Like I want Zapdos and a Rattata and a Alakazam. Like whoever you want, you got it. That's the thing. Going back to old Pokemon after playing these new versions of Pokemon, where typings are different and attack and defense, everything is swapped and different and crazy. It was hard going back, but I don't know, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I played more when I went home.
I think we even played the mini games more than the actual stadium fights back in the day. They were just so much fun. With that said, the original idea for this episode was to just do a best 2 out of 3 stadium fights. But then we really decided for the episode to just showcase the whole game. We played every minigame, and then at the end, we only did one stadium battle. Needless to say, because of Jesse's knowledge on Pokemon, he knew what Pokemon to choose for the stadium fight. He won. But he didn't go without a fight, that's for sure. It was a pretty close matchup. The skit for this episode was also one of my favorites as well. We had a lot of people involved with this skit, including Nick, Adam, and Zach. And instead of making it a fake sponsor skit, I decided to make it more of a interruption of the actual episode to cut to a very important news broadcast, like breaking news story.
3, 2, 1, and we're
Oh,
starting.
no. I'm sorry. He said 3, 2, 1. I thought iCarly saw it.
I'm out, bitches.
Well, until next time, this was What You Know About the News, and good night.
Good job,
We're
guys.
good. We're good.
Good job.
Fuck this.
Besides playing Pokemon Puzzle League for the series, another game that Matty Boy has been trying to convince me to play was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So when I finally decided to play for the series, it was clear as day who to choose to be the guest star for it. It was always a plan from the beginning to showcase the pros and cons of the game, and there was plenty of both, including its camera angles. We plan to play every 2-player mode, making it almost like a best 2 out of 3. This was another game that me and Jesse played very often when we were younger, and I believe it still kind of holds up to this day, although I think a lot of others would disagree. The skit we did for this episode was actually one of the more challenging ones to figure out. Lupo actually came up with the idea and the concept to do a commercial for Klondike Bar. And this was originally going to be another just regular TikTok skit, not for FARANK Gaming. So I decided to adapt it as a fake sponsor skit. It only seemed right, but it came to writing to the script. I was having a real hard time, like, what to make the skit about. The only thing I always had down pat for this skit was for my cousin Dom to say the tagline at the end of the skit, take a bite, Dyke, as in Klondike Bar.
Take a bite, Dyke.
We had such a problem creating a script for that skit that the season actually premiered before the skit was even filmed. And once the episode was next up to be released, I still didn't have it done. So I kind of just had to throw something together and just call it a day. This was another gaming session that was one of the more enjoyable ones to film. This episode featured the most people in one game, which included Luke, Pat, and Dan. And because Double Dash deals with 2 characters on a cart, I decided the premise should be a 2-on-2. Frank and Dan versus Luke and Pat. Originally, the episode was just going to feature me and Luke, being a callback to Season 2's Mario Kart Wii, but then we expanded it to what it became.
I think it was just like the first Mario Kart game I played growing up. It was just Mario Kart. That's like all it was to me. And then it was just like, oh, you have to switch the characters to then get the other item and whatnot. So I don't even think I ever played it to like its actual potential of having like another player like with you and actually like coordinating. So I think it was just what made me enjoy it was just being the fact that it was my first Mario Kart game I ever played.
The skit was filmed on the same night with the same people. The concept was a sponsor for Eggo Waffles, expanding on the slogan, Lego My Eggo. And the idea for this skit was going to be a commercial in a commercial. So it shows the beginning of the skit of them finishing filming a commercial, and only one person gets to eat the Eggo waffle that was there as the prop, and they're basically all fighting for it.
Well, that makes 2 of 5.
On Amazon, I purchased 4 toy pistols for the skit, as we were each going to hold one up to each other, almost like a cowboy standoff. But then Luke came up with a great idea for everyone to have a different weapon to make it more random and funny, and I think that actually worked out much better than what was originally planned. Like every FARANK Gaming finale, we like to play a Smash Bros. Or Smash Bros. Type game. And what better than the OG Smash Bros. To play for the series finale? And like most Super Smash finales, I always bring the same guest on to play these type of games, so I brought back Landry.
Nah, I used to play it with my brother all the time, you know? Like either taking turns on classic mode, playing through all the stages, trying to beat each other's score, or playing against each other in computers. Plus, you know, it was super popular with everyone. So like, whenever there was people over or going to anybody else's house, it was just always a go-to game. So like, it was just super fun to always have something to fall back on. Just always play with the homies, you know?
But this time with a little twist, I decided to bring one extra person to be a commentator for the matches, Lupo.
You should do the introduction of like, all right, and here we go for the best to 3. Right? Does that make sense?
I'll do the best I can.
Okay, all right.
And probably predicted, Landry beat the shit out of me in the game, but it still ended up to be a good episode. You know, it was just a good way to end this series, playing one of the most OG games ever and to start a great trend in fighting games. As far as the 2 skits we did, the first one being Skittles, Taste the Rainbow, and now Feel the Rainbow. The whole idea was that a Skittle would be like a tab of acid, and each color made you feel something different.
This one will do the freaking out panic mode. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, now this one needs music.
And for the very end of the episode, I wanted to end it with a song recapping a gist of every season of FARANK Gaming. And with some inspiration from Tenacious D, who did a cover to the song, I decided to go with The End by the Beatles with my own lyrics.
Oh yeah! Alright! Do you wanna game with me? Tonight.
Alright, so even though this is a Beatles song parody, we're kind of going for more of a Green Day type of rock star outfit. And we're about to shoot scene 1 of this final skit here.
In the end of filming, editing, and releasing each episode of Season 5, I can't help to feel very happy with how it turned out, and also in a sense relieved at the same time that the series is over. Don't get me wrong, I had a blast with every game and every guest that I had on, but it's definitely time to move on.
I feel like we don't appreciate the games back in the day as much because like that game is so awesome.
It was amazing. First of all, I got to see you, chill with you first time in a while. So like just being in your environment and energy and hospitality was great.
It was fun. I mean, what else is there to even say? Like, I had a good time. It was a nice little nostalgia trip, and it was just, I was glad to be invited. So, you know, all around good time.
It's like, I know all you guys, and you're all fun to hang out with. So it's like, oh, we get to have a couple drinks and play Mario Kart. Like,
it was an honor to be able to like come over there and film, and the fact that it's the season finale, it was super sick, man.
And with that said, even though I may be done with FARANK Gaming, I'll always be a gamer